Thank you for checking out the Rebuild Talks with Tiffany. I'm so excited about this episode. This week, I'm talking with the one and the only Akilah Willery. You need to hear about this fabulous woman. We had an amazing conversation. It was so good. We couldn't fit it all into one episode. So you know we're going to have a part 2. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe, share this with a friend, tell someone who you know wants to rebuild their life in a powerful way. I can't wait to hear what you think about this episode. Comment below.
Hello, Miss Tiffany Nelson. I am so happy to have you here today on the Melanated Midlife podcast. How's it going?
I'm so glad to be here with you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited.
We have been just a little too excited to record this. I mean, we're doing business and I'm goofy. I sense the goofy in you.
Absolutely.
We probably should not sit next to each other in person.
Well, there goes the fun in that.
I know. I mean, but the beauty of this is that we talk a lot of the same core topics. And so I'm going to sit here and take notes as like I can geek out, because I think that is something that not enough people understand, that this whole midlife transition, this whole rebuild, and I love the title of your podcast, The Rebuild. There's so much power in your title, the name of that, but there's so much in this rebuild. There's so many layers to this, and it's a message that more people need to hear, because there's an isolation, I think, that folks feel when they're going through something, coming out of something, and the tendency would be to go hide and to put all of that in the closet and just kind of pretend that we're okay. That's not quite how it goes. That's not the real story. And the stories that you and I are telling, I think we need to hear more of that. So anyway, Miss Tiffany Nelson, tell us a little bit about yourself.
You know, I think about this all the time. Like, how do I introduce myself? And I live in a place where people are defined by, what do you do? I mean, I'm definitely defined by, who am I? So I am a powerful, outrageous, responsible leader. I'm a life strategist. I'm a personal growth development coach. And professionally, I'm an HR operations manager.
So you deal with people for
I deal
money.
with people. I deal with people, lots of people over many different industries. So that's always fun.
Yeah. So you get to see both sides of things, dealing with folks one-on-one. You do it in an official corporate structure, and then you are still offering support, your expert support, for folks that are making this transition. But, you don't just stumble into this kind of work just waking up one day and saying, you know what, I think I want to talk about very vulnerable transitions and all that stuff. No, it comes from a very personal place.
It does. And, I think that, by this point in my life, I've lived a little bit of life. If I have baggage, it's because I paid for this baggage, and paid emotionally, paid with experience. I've paid with wisdom. I've paid with taking risks, getting hurt. But it is my own, and it's something that I gladly own. So I think I've just lived a lot of life, but I think there is something interesting, and I see it even with you. Like, I see this so much in you. I think, to your point a bit earlier, there are people who, Akilah, everyone doesn't live life passionately. There are some people who just get up and they go to work, and they come home and they watch TV, and they go to sleep, and they get up and they go to work. And they come home and they sit down and watch TV, and they get up. And there's this repetition. But I think I always had an interest in living a dynamic life. And so there was a period of me feeling maybe a little bit depressed, of actually being depressed. But once the depression moved on, or I moved on from it, I realized what a gift life really is.
Yeah. And that, I want to come back to that, because we could share some stories, honey. I know that you talk about with your most recent episode, and yes, I was nerding out, spying on your most recent podcast episode, and you talked about the R's of this whole rebuild, and with folks that you encounter that are in that, the repetition, the routine, and they truly have accepted that this is it. That this is, and then once this is something that I've seen is that you get to a certain point and you kind of take a glance back and you're like, okay, I've been doing this exact routine for 15, 20, 25 years and I still got a lot of life ahead of me. Is this how I want to continue? And most folks probably don't make a change at that point. They just accept it. But like you, like myself, sometimes life will knock you into a new routine.
Yeah.
So tell me, take me there. So with the folks that are listening to this, they're probably feeling called out and disrespected right now
Oh, did you
because
say?
they have accepted the routine. And I'm like, no, girl, there's something else. So what had to knock you out and start coming out into this rebuild of your own?
So multiple things knocked me out, knocked me down, knocked bowled me over. I would say the first thing was my divorce. I was with someone who I thought I was going to live the rest of my life with. I thought we were going to have, happily ever after. It certainly started out that way. It was, a classic case of he saw me from across the room and he approached me and we chatted and she laughed and touched her chest. It was all of that. It was all of that. It was, six
Yeah.
months later, we were engaged on the Brooklyn Bridge. I'm a New Yorker. So we got engaged on the Brooklyn Bridge and he had asked for my parents' hand and all of that, the fairy tale wedding, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it didn't take very long. I was like, "Oh, we're not compatible. We're not compatible." Yeah, I didn't cheat on him. I didn't beat him. He didn't beat me. It was nothing like that, but we weren't compatible. And when it came down to it, I didn't like him. I didn't like him. Like he's not someone that I would be friends with.
Okay, you just rewind. That's a mic drop moment.
Yeah.
You whispered that to people, you just
Yeah.
said that out loud that you had the clarity to see
Yeah.
that this is not a person that like I said, I'm thinking about my dad. My truck driver dad would say, if ain't nobody cutting and shooting each other, then you should be able to work it out.
Right.
That's his
Right.
old school
Right.
philosophy. Much respect to my dad. But
Absolutely.
you just said the quiet part out loud. We just simply were not compatible. This
We
is
weren't
not
compatible.
somebody I
Yeah.
wanted to be with.
Yeah, that's really what it
Oh,
came down to. And I think a lot of people have a tough time just identifying what it is that they do like. I think there are other cultures that are taught to date, and I don't know that we are necessarily taught to date. So I think other cultures are thought like date this guy, date this person, date this person, date this person to see what you
right.
like and to definitely narrow down and distill what you don't like. And
Yeah.
I don't know that. And when I say our culture, I mean our age group, 70s and 80s babies, 90s babies, typically, from immigrant families, from families that have moved, maybe from South to the Northeast or
Right.
from the West Coast to Middle America. Like, we're as people of color, as Black people, specifically, even drilling down further, Black women, we're not taught to date all types of people and see what we like. We're taught
Yeah.
to, if someone shows interest in you, I mean, there's no reason why you can't work it out. You have all the similarities. You're both maybe from similar families and you're both from similar economic backgrounds. But the truth is there's so much more to relationship than
Yeah.
those things.
I get it. Ooh,
Yeah.
girl. I could just
Yeah.
right here in this part of the story. I know there's more because and I want to go again. I was nerding out listening to your podcast because with that exact piece of feeling or understanding that okay, we're not compatible anymore. You had this epiphany almost immediately that okay, I can be all right by myself.
Yeah, yeah. I thought it when we first got together, and I did everything to push it down because it was a thought that popped into my head, and I was like, okay, I'm not having other thoughts that are consistent with this.
Mhm.
So let me suppress this thought. And for a while we were happy for a while, or maybe I was content. Maybe it was just okay. Maybe I was content and it was okay. It's so funny that you mentioned your dad. I was talking to my dad last week and he said something so interesting to me. He said, you're always happy. And he's like, I really like that you make your own happiness. And I think so for a good part of my life, I've made my own happiness and I
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily relying on my husband at that time to to make me happy. Life was fine. We were married. We didn't have children. We were just enjoying life. And I was probably living more like a single person who happened to be married than I was living
Okay.
as a married person.
That's a okay, that's a revelation, and I've heard this before where
Mhm.
there is a point in a marriage and a union that is slowly starting to dissolve, that you live together separate lives. And I don't know if that is something, like you said, you're content, everybody's healthy, everybody's functioning, and you're just like, okay, maybe this is what it's supposed to be like. Maybe I'm the problem.
Right. Am I the problem? Is it me?
Yeah,
Yes. Yes. I
am
was
I
the
the problem?
problem.
It's supposed to be roses and Hallmark movies and
Yeah.
pumpkin festivals. Yeah, the honest part is that it is work in any relationship, which I'm jumping into another one of your talking points about just relationships in general. We sometimes think relationships with it being romantic, but relationships with other human beings that are in our lives, that changes as well. But let me shut up and let you finish talking because
No, I
I'll let
think
it
you're striking on so many good points. Like I'm over here, I'm discreetly taking notes. Okay, got to come back to yeah. I think so. A couple of things. I do think so. If we're talking about rebuilding, right? I
Yes,
think that
totally the
one of the
rebuild.
main things, my first point in rebuilding is that we need to release. Like release ideas that we might have had. And I think there's a lot of that doesn't happen because people, honestly, with the amount of time that we have in a week, and I know that I can tell you have great time management. Like I can just tell by your personality, like you manage your time, you know how to manage teams, you know how to manage processes. Like I'm in HR, like I get it. I get it. Like there're just certain things that I'm able to pick up immediately. And I think as far as managing for individuals with all the time that we have, I find that we don't typically take time to really think about what it is that we want from a relationship. What do we want to bring to the relationship? What do we want to be in a relationship? What do we want our partner to be like? And it's almost as if we're afraid to identify what we want because what often happens is something else comes along and we'll just take it. We'll just accept it. Even though that's
Mm,
not in the back of our minds. That's not what we thought we wanted. But
right.
we'll just accept it. And so I think once or we'll accept what we think people want us to have or the projections that we have from our family or from our neighbors or from our culture or from our friends. And so I think that releasing, the first step is releasing. Before we can rebuild, we got to release. Before you build a new wardrobe, you got to release the stuff that's already in there. The throwback jerseys from 97 no longer support your elevated, your elevated style. Out the brown outlined lips.
Right.
This is oldie. This might have been a New York thing. The brown
No,
outlined lips.
girl, that was a
Listen,
thing. That was hip hop culture. Talk about this all the time. Say Gen X, we
absolutely.
are the hip hop culture, the hip hop generation. But you mentioned something about the just I think when I think and I'm doing my Whitley Gilbert, relax, relate, release.
Release, yeah.
But it is true. It's true because there's this idea that and I don't know if it's generational where we're thinking of some idea that somebody else had for us, some expectations that somebody else had for us. And
Mm,
we have to start looking inward. Is this my vision for my life?
yeah.
And releasing that other people's expectations. Also, have I just internalized all of that? And at least with some folks I talk to, once we get to this age, it's been so ingrained of what my mom expected, what my grandparents, like you said,
Yeah.
immigrant parents expected
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah.
And we don't know what we want.
Yeah. Yeah,
But you
I find that that's often the case. I find that we will often say, and I think I'm sure you've had this experience. Like you buy a new car, and then the moment you get this car, you're able to point out every other car on the street that's like that car, right? Meanwhile, when you were first researching the car, you're thinking, "Gosh, hardly anyone drives this car.
yeah,
I'm gonna be
it's
an
unique.
anomaly. I'm gonna be the only one." And so I think what happens is to that point, I think that we're able to identify what we don't want. We're able to point it out and we're not as easily able to say what we do want. So a friend of mine, makes this point and says like we often go into a restaurant and we start asking for things that are on the menu. Well, do you have such and such? But they've provided a menu to tell you what they do have. And you can't even pick from this, but you're ready to start selecting. Just stay right here. Yeah.
Mhm.
And even with questions, I'll ask them a lot in coaching and in deep work session, I'll ask someone, well, what is it that you want? Like, what is it that you want from a relationship? Well, I don't want someone who's shorter than 6 feet. And I don't want someone who doesn't make at least $100,000. And I don't want someone but that's great. But what do you want? What do you want? And I think that there's a lot that's found in that, what we do
Yeah.
want. Yeah. And what we don't want.
Well, let me also ask you with exactly that. I hear so many people that will say, "Here's my checklist of what I want or what the other person can't come with." We have a harder time looking at ourselves and measuring up to someone else's checklist. And at least us as Black women, we tend to be high achievers. We tend to be very direct with, what the outside world sees. But you turn that mirror right back on us, and there's a lot that we probably could work on. And I always tell folks, you need to move from the land of the shoulds. And
That's
once we
good.
get rid of the, I should be this or I should da 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 da. And I'm just like, okay, it's just like you're saying, well, what do you want?
Yes, yes. Oh, I love that. The land of the shoulds. I love that. I
Steal it,
love
girl.
that. I love that. Is it stealing if I tell you ahead of time that I'm taking
Hey,
it? I mean, I'm
no,
gonna credit you.
we gonna have
Listen,
some synergy. We're going to do this. And I'm telling everybody live, this is recorded live, whatever. Tiffany and I are going to do some things together because I think
absolutely.
we've got a similar mission and just stay tuned for that.
Yes, yes. Please do. Please do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you say the land of the shoulds, and for me, it is two town. It's called two town because people are like, I'm too old. I'm too long in the tooth. I'm too overweight. It's too late. Oh, that's a good one. It's too late.
Too
There are too
late.
many people already doing this. There are too many people who already have podcasts. Why are you doing that? I'm gonna strike a nerve with someone else.
Yeah.
There's someone who's listening to us, so I'm with you on the shoulds. I
Yeah.
do think that we get caught up in that. And I think it's a horrible place to be. And, I make if we're going back to the car thing one more time, I talk about, for me in the Northeast in New York, I'm born and raised in Queens, New York. Shout out to Queens. In New York in the 80s, early 80s, there were these campaigns that were going out. They were all over the news, all over commercials, on radio, on television. And for the first time in the 80s, it was about buckling your seatbelt. I don't know if you had this.
I
Yeah.
remember this. Yeah.
So we were the first generation that we were going to be the drivers that were just learning to buckle our seatbelts. So naturally, once I started driving in the mid early 90s, I always buckled my seatbelt because that's all that I had learned as a driver. I make the point that my parents, they had to unlearn not wearing a seatbelt and relearn to buckle their seatbelts. So I think that there's something to be found in letting go of an old ideology, right? Because before my dad would say, well, I didn't wear a seatbelt and I never got hurt. And I had four of you kids, two of you kids lined up against on the front seat with us and nobody. Yeah, but dad, but we also smoked in cars. We had
Yep.
ashtrays in cars. Well, like there was a lot of stuff that we did that shouldn't have been
Yeah.
done.
And mama probably drank and smoked while she was pregnant with
While
you.
she was pregnant, exactly,
Mhm.
and then they put her to sleep, and 20 minutes later, she woke up and she had a brand new bundle of it was a different time, but I
Yeah.
do think there's something that's very, very interesting about unlearning, and listen, they essentially taught the whole country to unlearn the programming of driving without a seatbelt and relearn the programming of putting on buckle up, stay
Yeah.
alive, buckle up is, some of the things that they would say. So I think even in rebuilding, we're releasing the old mindset of I'm too this, I'm too that, or I should have done it before. I should have not waited this long. I should have married this guy. I should have married this girl. I should have not gotten into this relationship. I should have broken it off the first time that he cheated on me. I should have not followed in my mom's steps and becoming a nurse. I should have become an actor or an artist or the thing that really brings me we're learning something new. We need to let go of the old and learn something new.
That's good, that's good,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all that releasing because it's important. It's the scary part, or one of the scary parts, because you're letting things go, and you truly believe that releasing is going to be replaced by an emptiness or a void,
Uh-huh.
but it's not necessarily that. You're releasing so that you are open to receive whatever the next thing is. There's so much that can be talked about, whether it's releasing a relationship, releasing old mindsets. I had another colleague that talked about releasing some, it had to do with debt, a financial debt. And she just had to release some anger and resentment towards the person that helped her cause that debt so that she could pay it off, and it left her, she didn't see it at the time, but it left her open to receive a blessing that was right around the corner.
Yeah.
She could see it, smell it, or whatever, but it was waiting for her to be open to receive it, and everything changed, everything unlocked in her life once that happened. And I think about that example over and over again when you say, that there's a lot that you just need to let go of. And that mindset is probably the greatest prison that we lock ourselves into.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think even about yeah, definitely our thoughts and ideas about money. Because don't forget, we've inherited these thoughts and ideas. If we're talking about money, we've inherited these ideas. And our melanated midlife doesn't look like our parents. This is not my parents. I remember my mom at my age, and this is not her. So, like we've inherited these things. We've been socialized to have a certain strategy or a certain way that we've interacted with our finances that just doesn't serve us now. I think once we have become more comfortable, or once we understand ourselves and really take a look at what it is we want to create, this is a great point. Part of your story that I really, really love is your conversation around downsizing from a house to an apartment. And what I really love is like the joy and love and probably close relationship that you now have with your husband, because there are no trips to Lowe's and Home Depot and that's it's no, I loved just to bring his name into the room when your husband made the point
Why does
about
he always get
oh, I
Mhm.
know. We love our black men. Sorry. We do. We
No,
love
we're
our
good.
men. Come on. But he made the point of every time you hear a noise, it's like, how much is that going to cost me? And I've been there.
Mhm.
I've been there. Worse, I was there. So just a little bit of background. Like my dad is was a steam fitter, so he did HVAC. He could do electrical, plumbing, you name it, my dad can do
Uh-huh.
it. And
Yeah.
then I married the person who wasn't. When that's my husband was like, "What is that sound?" And I was like, "Where's my toolbox? Get me my toolbox. Get
Mm,
me my toolbox
mm,
because
mm,
this is
mm,
gonna
mm.
cost us." We were homeowners, so this is gonna cost us. But yeah, like even those ideas around who has what responsibility. Well, those are things that we need to release. Who should be? We both go to work. Why do I have to be the one to figure out who's gonna make dinner? We're both gonna eat. I don't have to figure.
Ooh,
No, okay. We don't want to go there. Okay,
ooh,
I'm gonna let it
ooh,
go.
no, girl.
We don't want to go
Okay.
there. Okay,
No,
okay.
let's go there. Let's go there because whew. Okay, so and I'm saying we Gen Xers, because there are some 30 somethings that are probably listening to this right now, or some 20 somethings just like, what are they talking about? Yeah, there was an expectation, we'll say way back in the 1900s.
Right.
You just, no matter what, the woman came home and made sure dinner was on the table, or that,
Absolutely.
the house was clean or whatever. Now, and I will also back up and say that historically Black women have never been able to have that period where we didn't work, where we weren't taking care of something or bringing money home into the financial part of the household. So
Yeah.
yeah, having those conversations about, "Oh, there's a noise, who's
Mm-hmm.
gonna take care
Right.
of it?"
Right.
Or, "We're
Right.
hungry, who's gonna take care of
Who's
that?"
gonna take care of it? Yeah.
Or, "Baby's crying, who's gonna take care of that?"
Right.
And there's so much about the expectations and what it looks like to other people, or expectations that you bring into the relationship, where it can look however it works for you.
Right. Right.
And if your partner is the expert in whatever area, okay, let them lean all the way into that and bring that
Yeah,
talent into this relationship. If you are a woman and you've never turned on a stove, then hey, okay, figure out a way to make it happen for both of you. We're
absolutely.
letting all that girl,
Telling
we're
you.
letting all that go and stop caring what somebody else is gonna say. Stop caring how
Right.
somebody else is going to judge you. Like you said, we've got a lot of living that we've done. We've got a lot
Yeah,
of experiences and just being super selfish of what this needs to look like for you is probably the greatest gift you're gonna give to yourself.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's finding the getting clear. It's clarity. It's
Mhm.
clarity. Like pushing away all of the noise, all of the expectations, and getting clear on what is it that we really, really want. What is the life that we know that we're meant to lead? And it changes. It changes. Like part of your life was the model house, the beautiful house that was the showpiece, and it was a center of probably, you know, family gatherings and being together. And for a lot of people, I'm sure they felt love there that they hadn't felt in other places. But now you're in a different part of your life where you are at content creation. And
Hey, both of us are nicely seasoned and full selves.
yeah.
We're both stepping out like this and showing other folks what this is all about.
Mm,
And I'm real curious because with the people that you're working with, you get them to that point where you're asking that question of what is it that you want? What does this happiness in your life, what's going to bring that joy? How do you get them to get that clarity? How do you get them to say, "Oh, I want this," or to see?
this is good.
What are those conversations like for you?
Honestly, the conversation, this is a really great question. There are a few things that occur. From a practical sense, it is often doing a time analysis and just looking at, like, you have 168 hours for each week. How are you spending your time? Because however you're spending your time is where your heart really lays.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's looking at how people spend their time, analyzing how people are spending their money. What you spend, show me how you're spending your money, and I'll tell you the things that really matter to you. Show me how you're spending your time, I'll tell you the things that really matter to you. So I think, and from a practical lens, those are the things that's the work that I'm doing with clients to figure out what their next steps are or to figure out a way to get clarity. Other than that, it's like quieting the noise, which means turning off the TV, maybe not scrolling on social media and seeing how other people are living their lives. Maybe not being so involved in your company work because guess what? The CEO of your company has built his dream life and you are now helping him. You're helping him. You're
That
helping him
part.
live his dream life and you're not living yours. Yeah. So there's that, like just from a more organic coaching space. Also, really just taking the time to ask people, what do you want? So my friends jokingly call me the graceful disruptor because they're like, you will interrupt someone. And yes, I will. I will. Like, if because often people want to give their story. And I'm like, no, I don't want to hear the story. Don't tell me the story. Don't tell me the story. Answer my question. My question is, what is it that you want? So if you say to me, hey, Tiffany, what do you want from a relationship? I'm quick to tell you, I want a relationship that's passionate, that's fun, with a partner who's ambitious and loving and caring, someone who I can trust. I want us to feel connected, have a great sense of communication, and I want our relationship to be sexy. I'm
Hey,
clear,
it's
clear.
unapologetic. Unapologetic.
Yeah, and I think that's what lends to, right? So if we're talking clarity, once we get really clear, that's where our confidence comes from. So like from okay, listen, you can't be the only one who's like looking, like deep diving into my podcast. You can't be the only one. Like I want to let you believe that you're the only one, but you're not. You're not the only one. If we're talking from a learning and development lens, who somebody on this line may have a great deal of learning development experience, and I'm just going to say it's not me. Just say it, right? If we're talking, like, even talking from a learning and development, once you have that content, once you know that curriculum, teaching it, you land it. You land it. And that is the confidence. The confidence is knowing the material, understanding, let's say, the ethos of the company, if it's an organization that you're working with, and then you're able to deliver it. And I already know that you do things in excellence. So I think once people get clear, that builds their confidence. And then the other part is just having the courage to do it, to actually just do it.
And you know what? That I'm glad you used that word, courage, because I hear that a lot. He was like, "Oh, well, that's so courageous that you've, fill in the blank, whatever XYZ is." And I always tell folks the courageous move is the first tiny step that you
Yeah.
make.
Yeah.
That first decision of that makes a tiny, turn in another
Absolutely.
direction. And then once you do that, it sounds very cliche, but it's like the one thing that you're avoiding is going to unlock the next step. So, oh, well, I know you did this. So, how did you figure out all 12 steps? How did you figure out that it was going to work out this way? It's like, no, I had no clue. I had
Right.
no clue.
Right.
But
Right.
I was courageous enough, there's that word. I was courageous enough just to do one tiny thing different. You get super spiritual and say, something, God was like, girl, you did that thing. Okay, we're ready for the next one.
Absolutely.
I've got all
Absolutely.
these things prepared for you, but you've got to make that first step. And I'm
Absolutely.
unlocking doors as you keep moving some way. But if you stand still, if you stay where you are, if you're sitting on that couch and you're turning on Netflix every day, which no disrespect to Netflix, I got plenty of
Right.
shows that I'll go watch.
Right.
But if that's all you're doing, if that's where your time is, then there's nothing that's going to show up and deliver it straight to your couch.
Right. You're so right. I think courage is definitely the first step. Courage only occurs in the presence of fear. So it has to be something that you are afraid of.
Wait
There
a
has
sec,
to be fear present. If fear
girl.
isn't present, you're not being courageous. You're just doing a thing. So let's say if we were talking about tying our shoelace, right? Every day you get up, you put your shoes on, you tie your shoelace. There is nothing necessarily courageous about tying your shoelace. Let's say you were about to tie your shoelace. Let's say you bent down to tie your shoelace and there's a snake on the ground and you're afraid, but you're tying your shoelace. There's fear present. But the courageous thing to do is to tie your shoelace and then run for your life. Courage only occurs in the presence of fear. And I think that sometimes it is just a tiny step. I'm going to tell you a quick story. I did a challenge. This challenge is going to haunt me. I did a challenge not too long ago, and I did it for people who have been my former clients. So, clients that I've had within the last 7 to 10 years. And two things happened. First of all, there were some clients, and I'm sure you've had this happen. You ever have the client that you don't necessarily hit it off with, but which is it's so important for our work. This is why we do intake. This is why we do discovery calls, because you're just not going to hit it off with every client, and
Yeah.
that's okay. One of the things that happened was I had some clients previously, and when I knew I was going to do this challenge, I was like, I didn't have a great experience. I don't know if I should invite them or not. But I wanted to have integrity. Like, I believe in having integrity. So I was like, you know what? I'll invite. If they decline the invitation, that's fine. But at least I'm doing the right thing by inviting them. I invited some of these clients. And when I tell you, we have created a whole new relationship. And I'm so glad that I stuck to the core and to my values. I really stuck to my values and invited them anyway. Anyway, that was one thing that happened. The other
Yeah.
thing that happened was in this challenge, it was a week-long challenge. It included like 5 a.m. calls. It included like a daily task to do. There were check-ins. I provided everyone with some coaching time. One of the things that I was telling them one of the days was to make a move, make a courageous move, do one thing. So, of course, if we're doing the work that we're doing, you and I, we want to have integrity and we want to be intentional. I don't want to tell a client to do something that I myself am not going to do. Like, I want to tell them, I'm telling them to do this because I've done it or I'm doing it. So, one of the things that I decided to do was I decided that I was going to go on to a dating website. Decided that I was going to go on a dating website. So I go on to this dating website, and I had to do it before I sent out the email because I definitely wasn't going to say, well, make a move, do something courageous for them to say, well, what have you done that's, courageous lately?
It was a put up or shut up.
Definitely that. And so I went onto a website, Killa. I met like the most interesting people. I met a guy. We're dating. And I'm not saying, listen, I'm not saying nobody has to go order their bridesmaid dress just yet. Not just yet. But it opened up something that wouldn't have opened had I not taken the courageous step.
That
Had I not
first step.
taken that first step. So I love, that you're talking about this because I think it's something that's so important. And it starts with the smallest things. It
Mhm.
starts with just sometimes the courage is to do something different. If you're used to sleeping on the right side of the bed, sleep on the left. See what happens. Just try something different. If you
Yeah.
brush your teeth with your right hand, try brushing your teeth with your, and it starts with those small steps. Also that's what builds confidence. That's what helps to build confidence.
I love that you put yourself in a scary situation on purpose. Or, like you said, you took that
Yeah,
first step. And I
yeah.
know that somebody is listening to this right now and they're overthinking. I am the card carrying founding member of the Overthinkers Anonymous recovery
Oh,
group.
got it. I understand.
I have always been that person where I'm gonna research, I'm gonna
Mhm.
read, and you struck a nerve where you're like, "Oh, you're super organized." I have to release myself from that
Mhm.
sometimes because
Mhm,
but
mhm.
somebody is like, "Well, she did that thing and she had it all figured out. She took the first
The
scary
first
step."
step. That's it.
That's it.
That's
You
it.
making that decision of I'm going to do this little thing, and I will say little thing. Sometimes it's a little thing. Most
Right.
times it's a little thing,
Most
but
times it is, yeah.
it unlocks the next thing. We could go down such a rabbit hole with this because I know that some of it is from our age, it's from our maturity, it's from
Mhm.
the experience where we've built up the muscles in whatever our expert space is, or even if
Yeah.
it's just life. We know a lot of things. And to admit that we don't know something or that we have an area that is unexplored, that is sometimes too much for people to just say, "You know what? I've never done that thing. I'm curious."
Mhm.
Online dating, I've never even been on the sites. How does that work? I
Right.
want to start a podcast. What am I doing first?
Yeah.
And sometimes it can just be saying the thing out loud that you want. Again, getting clarity on what you want to do. And somebody's going to call back. I can help you with that. Or I've got a resource. Or
Yes.
let's do it together. We can be scared and hold hands while we do it
Mhm.
together. And the beauty is what happens on the other side of
Yeah.
that decision. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's a beautiful way to frame it.
We're going to put Tiffany's information in the description so that you can get to her easily. And I'm going to say publicly out loud that Tiffany is going to come back and do another episode soon.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
we gonna see what other scary things she's done for herself as her own public experiment and
Yes.
hear all the feedback.
Absolutely. I can't thank you enough for having me. This time was really special. Thank you so much for having me on the Melanated Midlife.
Hey, I appreciate you, my dear. We are going to rock this out. We're going to have this posted in two different places because Tiffany's podcast is called The Rebuild, and you can find it in all the places that you find podcasts. But
Mhm.
more than anything, I hope that you reach out, make a comment. If there's something that we said in this episode that resonated with you, or maybe we didn't even explain it well enough, put it in the comments, and both Tiffany or I will respond to you because that's what we're here for.
Yes.
Out,
Love it.
ask the scary questions, show the vulnerable side of yourself, and let's unlock whatever the next thing is for you. So, thank you for joining the podcast. Appreciate anybody that takes time to just, sit here and join the conversation with us and sharing it with someone that you love. So, thank you. We'll see you here next time.
Love that. I just love talking with Akilah Willery. We have the best conversations. Don't worry, you're going to hear more from her soon. But in the meantime, be sure to check out her podcast, The Melanated Midlife. I can't wait for you to learn more about her and her amazing life, her career, the things that she's done. Trust me, go comment on her page, comment on my page to let us both know that you're following and that you're ready to rebuild your life in a powerful way.